Welcome to Verbal Peak Radio, where we give you a verbal image of life, and we are every day. People like to welcome you all to the show. Today we're dealing with 5G, the controversy surrounding 5G, and later on I'll have a guest, Marcus Muhd, on the show with me, just discussing this issue. Some say that 5G is not harmful to birds, bees, or humans. Some say it is. David Icke had something to say that 5G would be worse than Chernobyl. We don't know, but we are at Verbal Peak Radio. We'd like to discuss this issue and see where it takes us. And I just, to give you all a brief update of what we're talking about, let me give you a brief introduction. Something that was on David Icke on "It Will Be Bigger Than Chernobyl Disaster." You know, could be, might not be, but we like to delve into it.
A few days ago, a group of scientists, doctors, environmental organizers, and concerned citizens got together and they called for the urgent stop to the deployment of 5G. They said that it's been proven harmful to human bodies, that this is an experiment on humanity, and that this should be called a crime under international law.
5G is a weapon. It's used by the military. Do you know these 5G millimeter wave technologies are used to scatter crowds? They drive up in this technology when they want to scatter a cloud, and they put out these frequencies in a much higher power than 5G will be initially with us, but the same frequencies. And people scatter because they get the feeling their skin is on fire, because the human body, including the skin, is an antenna. It interacts with frequencies and it receives and transmits information. At the cutting edge of understanding of DNA, scientists know that DNA is a receiver-transmitter of information.
I have to tell people 5G story. It's bigger than the Holocaust. It's bigger than anything you've ever heard. I'm Mark Steele. Anybody who hasn't heard me. I'm a weapons systems head-up display expert. I'm one of the leading experts in the world. I've actually brought cover in relation to this. The reason I became an expert was because I invented 5G. It's a killer. Do not believe a single word I say. Not one. I want you to do your own research. You'll find it's absolutely terrifying.
We are being censored. America's news outlets no longer provide the truth.
There are going to be boxes broadcasting 5G, this weapon, down every street, all over the world.
What we're concerned about 5G is that it's going to require a transmitter about every 3 to 10 homes. So you're talking about a small cell tower placed in front of your home.
Because at these high frequencies, you can't
doesn't travel very well.
Yeah.
And people need to understand, it's 24 gigahertz to 90 gigahertz. These are not 2 feet. These are 2 inches to half an inch. And this is very dense wireless radiation hitting our bodies. What we know is that it pulses more, it's got higher frequency, more waves per second, it beats up the cells more.
Let's talk about today's technology, what we have going on today. Your phone is constantly sending electromagnetic fields in and out of each other. Whether or not you're receiving a notification right now, all of our digital tech sends this data back and forth, right, using these invisible microwave radiation signals. That's today's tech. We have every cell tower, every router constantly pulsing with radiation, whether or not you're using it. Science shows that this causes DNA damage, cancer, among other things. But don't take my word for it.
And that's just with 4G.
That's just with today's technology.
Before we get to 5G, right now you got some of it, but not that much.
Wireless radiation has biological effects, period. These effects are seen in all life forms: plants, animals, insects, microbes. In humans, we have clear evidence of cancer now. There is no question. We have evidence of DNA damage, cardiomyopathy, which is the precursor of congestive heart failure, neuropsychiatric effects. So 5G is not a conversation about whether or not these biological effects exist. They clearly do. 5G is a conversation about unsustainable healthcare expenditure.
So we are electromagnetic, electrical organisms, transmitters and receivers of information. When our electromagnetic fields are in balance and harmony, we have health. We have psychological health and we have physical health. The reason that this technological society is causing so much psychological and, quote, physical disease is because these frequencies, technologically driven, and we live in this Wi-Fi world now and all the phone masts and all the rest of it, these technologically generated frequencies are scrambling the balance of the human electromagnetic electrical communication systems. And if you scramble them, you create a state of disharmony, dis-ease, which plays through to physical and mental, emotional, psychological dis-ease. And there's another point to this. The brain processes information electrically. It communicates with the cellular structure electrically, and it operates within a certain band of frequency. If you can broadcast frequencies carrying information, this technology has long been known, carrying information and perceptions within the frequency that the brain decodes information, the brain will decode those frequencies and will have those perceptions. You can influence people's perceptions externally by broadcasting these frequencies that we interact with, because we are antenna. Okay. Now, some decades ago, there was a guy who worked out the frequencies of different emotional states. This is long ago. I mean, it's very, very sophisticated now. So every thought, every emotional response is a frequency. It generates a frequency, and it is of itself a frequency. Hate is a frequency, and it's different to love. You know, when you are in a room and there's lots of aggression and conflict and hatred, you feel it. What do people say? Oh, God, you can cut the atmosphere with a knife in there. That is because the frequencies of hate and conflict have been so generated, they have changed the electromagnetic field of the room.
Okay, so 5G is going to be weaponized against us potentially.
Yeah, but the point being that they worked out the frequencies of various emotions, including rage and what have you. And basically, they can play across a community these frequencies without anyone knowing. And it starts to have an effect. And it starts to build rage. It starts to build anger. And people might not realize why they're feeling it, but they start to feel it. And then what they do is they trigger that with an event. Maybe some guy is attacked by the police or something, or somebody's arrested for something they didn't commit, and now there's the trigger. The blue touch paper's been lit of this manufactured frequency-driven rage, and you have mass riots and what have you, and people do things that they wouldn't normally do. And you can make people depressed. You know, the American military, they've admitted this. They have technology that fires frequencies at the enemy, that basically breaks the enemy's spirit, so they give up and put their weapons down. This is the technology we're dealing with. Now, you take that into account, and then you think of 5G. First of all, 5G doesn't travel well because of the nature of its frequency. So instead of big towers, as we have now, broadcasting these frequencies long distances, it won't do that. And it doesn't go through solid objects, what we call solid objects, very well either. So to overcome that, there are going to be boxes broadcasting 5G, this weapon, down every street, all over the world. You're talking phenomenal numbers of these boxes broadcasting, like on the lamp standard outside your children's bedroom and stuff, broadcasting this stuff. There's no way you'll be able to go where you'd be in a field of 5G. And another interesting thing, I don't know whether you've noticed this, but the story broke first of all in Sheffield, when the council started cutting down literally thousands and thousands and thousands of mature trees in urban streets. And there were big protests about it. You know, Sheffield claimed to be a green city, but all these mature trees were coming down, thousands of them. And my brother, he worked...
We hear it over...
a call-out bus mechanic So a bus will break down, they'll call him, we'll come around and fix it on the side of the road. So he's traveling all the time. And he's saying it's amazing how many mature trees are being cut down. Now, the worst nightmare of 5G in a street is mature trees, because it can't get through them. They don't want urban trees for 5G, because it won't go through solid objects very well at all, and it doesn't travel far. So we're going to have this explosion of 5G transmitters, and then, going back to what I said earlier, and they've admitted this too, there's going to be like 20,000 satellites up there beaming 5G at the Earth.
What is our exposure in a day? It's not one cell phone. It's cell phones, it's multiple wireless networks, it's smart meters, it's cell towers. It's this sandwich, and it all adds up. And this is a serious problem for occupational health, public safety, and personal safety. And I feel that it's irresponsible to be even talking about the Internet of Things and rolling out a new untested technology when we're not even measuring what are our current exposures from the current networks.
So now, after hearing that, I'd like to bring Marcus Muhd on the lines, bro, so we can discuss it a little further, and not just the 5G and Corona, but also other things pertaining to life. But Brother Marcus Muhd, welcome to the show, bro.
Peace. How you doing?
Pretty good, man. So with that being said, and what we heard from David Icke, and the purpose of us doing this show is because since this epidemic of the coronavirus, it's been a lot of speculation on what was the cause of it. Why didn't we foresee this coming into play? There's been speculation about the Obama team that President Trump let go, but supposedly Obama was warning them that something like this could take place. Why wasn't we ready as a country? Why are we running out of ventilators, masks, the gowns for the hospital? Basically, is why were we so unprepared? Now, Brother Marcus is a director, film director, amongst other things, dealing with the entertainment world. And okay, now I do understand technology, which makes our job a little easier, right? But to what extent, and at what cost to the public? But what's your take on the 5G and the viruses that's going on? Because I do know they got evidence of bees and birds dying, and the waves that it's sending out, and the disruption that it's causing. How do you feel about all of that?
Well, I think it's just as dangerous as all the scientists have been reporting and putting petitions out about. And of course, nobody's out here crying for more technology and higher speed downloads and better frequencies to better their cell phone usage and computers usage and all these other devices that we have. So that should raise a question right there. So why are they driving so hard,
right,
to get this 5G going all over the place?
So that takes us into, man, corporate greed, in the sense that, okay, capitalism, we understand, but how far do we go to make a profit?
Right.
And we can go all the way back to the mindset of those who came and conquered the natives that were here in the Americas, and they wanted to put up this paper mill or this plant, and they started killing off the buffalo, and it's just been progressing to what end will we be satisfied to where we say, you know what, we as human beings, we okay with the technology, but we need to balance it out with nature and make sure we don't harm this planet, because this is the only planet that we can survive on.
Right. We're not dealing with a human being, but we're dealing with the beast in human form that is determined to seize humanity. It ain't enough to make all the money and enslave humanity. They have to keep going until they absolutely dominate and master human beings, because their fight is not with us as everyday people. Their fight is with God, who created everyday people.
And we're just what they say, cannon father. We're just in the way. We're just innocent victims.
Well, we are the objects, because human beings are the greatest creation by God. Human beings are that which God travels in and manifests himself in.
Right.
So, yeah, we in between him and his quote unquote enemy. He's, this so-called human being, this mankind, has declared that God is his enemy.
And so to take it out on God, we get actually taking it out on us.
Well, I mean, if you want to defeat someone, you go after his strongest object. You go after his best creation. You go after what makes that God a God. What makes that God a God is his created man. In his image and in his likeness. You know he can't defeat God.
Right.
But he must conquer. He's going to try to surmount God by going after his greatest object.
Interesting. So so now when you saying that, now in the beginning was the Word, right? The Word became flesh. So that knowledge or that Word, you saying that the Creator can come in and out of flesh as he sees fit?
Well, it is a consistent dwelling within the human being. He doesn't travel in and out unless you're talking about birth and death.
Mm-hmm.
As we exist, God exists in us. Now, as you know, of course, you see a person walking down the street talking to himself and hadn't taken a bath in 3 weeks, and so on and so forth. There ain't no way that person can be housing God within him.
Right.
But he is, just as much as all of us are. Most, average person in society has manifested enough godly will within themselves to be civil. But even that person is only operating on 10% of his brain, according to the scientists.
Right.
So how can we look down on that person who may be operating on 9%? I'm just saying, God is always there. God is. If there's no God in that human, then that human would be decomposed and 6 feet under somewhere. Because God actually is what sustains the actual life of that person.
Well, what about the ones who obtain, let's say, that uses, 15 to 20% of their brain power, or who comes to man with a knowledge that's superior? How does that happen?
Well, we all know 1 + 1 is 2. That's the only mathematics that we know. But some of us can take 1 + 1 and 2, 1 + 1 equals 2, and build a house in a community, in a city, and be an engineer with 1 + 1 is 2. The other person that knows 1 + 1 is 2 may be the person who's walking down the street looking like, he can't do nothing.
Right.
So there's nothing new under the sun. I mean, there's such thing called revelation, but then you get that new knowledge. What are you doing with it is really what matters.
And the ones that expound on it, then in ancient times, are those ones that they would call prophet, like Abraham, Moses, or Jesus, or Muhammad, or Elijah, or Ezekiel. Right. Okay.
Well, these people were prophetic because they had vision, nothing else, and faith. That's it. There's nothing else.
So
God told me to do this. So here I am doing it, and I got enough faith to do it, no matter what you say about it.
And
That's it. There's nothing special about the knowledge of that person. That person is hearing and obeying.
and everybody is capable of doing that.
Everybody's capable of doing that. That's why he's talking to the people. Look, the God telling me to tell you this, But of course, things have to work itself out in time. Time is so important in the whole scheme of things, because if it's not time for a certain thing to transpire to take place, then more than likely it would take quote unquote a miracle for it to happen. So you got time to do this, but I'm going to send you something to get you on track with what's really supposed to be going on. But you still got the options.
So since this beast man want to be God, then the best he can do is create something that can imitate the original. So they would use that 5G technology as a form of energy waves, telepathy, or to communicate at the same rate of speed as thought, and they trying to implement to the best of their degree or knowledge
to subdue the human being.
So, but do the human being have a fighting mechanism within to block it, or are they just subject to it?
I believe the human being. Of course, the human being is the greatest manifestation of God that there is, that He created. It is the human being. So whatever the human being can make, the human being can unmake.
Right.
So when the scripture says, no weapon formed against me shall prosper, you can make that weapon, you can use it, and you might get somewhere with it, but there's no reason you should prosper if I'm over here as a human being also and I resist.
So my people suffer for a lack of knowledge. If you don't know, you can be used as a tool.
Can be used as a tool and a slave. And fear gets you in the most trouble.
Come on, bro. So I'm glad you said that, because I'm looking at the current pandemic of the coronavirus, and a lot of people are afraid right now. And sometimes people don't understand that fear causes that chemical reaction in that brain, and it can cause health issues within itself from the fear.
Right.
And people have and they relying on these city officials and the President Trump to give them some type of comfort, but according to what I'm hearing, it's not their job.
Man, it is the most ignorant that are getting into the most panic. And that don't matter. It doesn't matter what your status is in life, what your occupation is, what background you came from. If you find yourself ignorant to the fact that the government does not have your best interests at heart, those are the ones that you find panicking the most.
Right.
Relying on the government.
Right.
It's like a surprise. Oh my God, this and oh great, oh my goodness.
Right. How could you let this happen?
Right. Yeah. So what you surprised about? People have been telling you for the longest,
right.
But you are the ones that's now, you guys are just hate mongers. You guys are this, and you guys are that. Okay, we guys, my type of guy, who used to be a conspiracy theorist, that has turned into a conspiracy realist, and now you gonna have to, in a minute, just drop the whole conspiracy off my title, buddy, and I'm just a realist.
Right.
Because these people gonna run you down.
Yeah.
With the truth, with the facts, it's gonna be in your face. You're gonna be living, and guess what? Breathing it. That's what we're talking about right now.
That's right.
Now you breathing what we've been talking about for the longest.
Right. You dealing with it, and
it's your air. Now, how you gonna deny it now?
Right. How can you deny it? And some backs are against the wall because they haven't prepared for for the time when the time was there for them to prepare.
Right.
You know, so it's like
it's the shock, huh?
Yeah, like you said, I was just getting ready to say it's the shock.
It's a shock.
Yeah, it's the shock. It's the shock. And you're right, and that's what people are going through. They going through the shock. You know, okay. So two things, you know, before we close the subject.
Yes, sir.
It's like back in 1700, 1600, 1700, slavery time and whatnot, there was a spiritual teaching that was forced upon the people to believe. You know, I'll give you an example. Like a friend of mine was telling me that, you know, when you were in church and somebody get up and they put their one finger in the air and walk out, how they came from slavery time because they had to get permission from the master in order for them to walk the lead to go to the restroom or whatnot, right? But they carry on that practice even till today's time. And so when they so cloaked and wrapped up in a teaching that was given to them by the colonizer, which didn't have their best interest in heart, sometimes that truth is hard to get into that heart and heart of that blocked wall, you know, because you digested it wholly and you blocking out something that's coming from the outside that's trying to prepare your mind to understand what's to come in the future, right? And so that's creating a situation all within itself. And the second part I want on your take too, brother, is the Attorney General in New York is announcing a hotline for people to call for discrimination against the Asians within New York, because that discrimination is on the rise. And why haven't, first of all, we learned as citizens that hate and racism only tear things down?
Because the country was built on slavery, and they chose us because we were black, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yes, we had other slaves, Asian slaves, white slaves, so on and so forth, blacks enslaving blacks. But this slave, this so-called Negro in North America was stripped 100% of his own identity, given somebody else's name, given somebody else's religion, given somebody else's culture, making that he a subject.
Mm-hmm.
And not just a subject of brutality, torture, defamation, you know, so on and so forth. If we have not practiced justice in regards to these people, why everybody surprised that, you know, somebody get accused of a virus and then, you know, people start discriminating and start talking bad about them and throwing pies at them?
Right. Stabbing them, right.
You won't even recognize what you did to the black man and woman of America to build America, but you expect some sort of justice to come along every time somebody else is getting some kind of trouble. And, you know, the math don't work. There's an imbalance there. Justice is balance.
Right.
How you going to work justice when you're not really working justice?
Fact. Yeah, how you, right. It's an oxymoron. How can you work justice when you're not giving justice to those who've been unjust?
It's ridiculous. I mean, the Lady Liberty got a thing across her eyes as if she's supposed to be blind to what your skin color is, your background, your gender, so on and so forth. She don't have a patch on one eye and the other eye open. Right. You know, you can't work justice in one pocket and then step over here into another reality and try a different kind of justice. It don't work like that.
Right. It's as though the coronavirus pick and choose this race is going to hit. It's getting everybody, which we thought that I would have thought, look, after this pandemic, people will realize that we all on the same playing field. This virus is not discriminating. It's taking that people wouldn't have time. But like it's so embedded within this country, it's so stained in the fabric, I guess, that we'll never get rid of the racism.
And people going to their grave. I mean, you heard people, and they don't say it out in the open anymore, but you've heard of people saying, hey, if that black person has to be the one to treat me, I'd just rather die.
Shit, they done had an incident like that last year. Black woman on the plane, doctor trying to say, and no, they
there it is.
Had one in Missouri. I mean, in Kansas City. The lady was falling out, and he was trying to give her mouth to mouth. He was trying to resuscitate her, and her husband told her, "Nigga, what you doing to my wife?" Told him to get off of her.
And that was 2019.
Yeah.
COVID-19.
Hey, man, me, I'd have been like, okay, well, shit. You know what I mean? Have it your way.
You saved me first, then maybe I'll think about hating you later or something,
Right,
But no, these people will go to their grave with this, with expressing how much they hate you just because your skin is dark, man.
Yeah, that's ridiculous.
You understand God is not interested in none of that type of mentality?
Nah, that's ridiculous, bro. But
this is a real purge, bro.
But it's barbaric though. It's how can we talking about technology advancement, but yet we still got barbaric ideologies. It don't add up.
No,
it don't add up in today's time. You can't move forward because nobody want to lift that anchor of racism, and it just keeps the ship just suspended in one place. It's just floating in one spot.
Can't go forward.
Cannot go forward, right? And so I guess things, earthquakes and natural disasters and these viruses is like giving us a chance to get it right, and it keeps increasing and getting it worse as time persists.
Ladies, wars, rumors of wars. Man against man, man against woman, woman against woman, children against parents, nature against humans, nature against nature. It's just this is it, man. I mean, everybody you think that Bible and that Quran is just a book and a history book. You better read it again, just like you looking at the calendar every day in the clock. It's real.
It's real. We walking right on the pages as we speak.
This is it.
Well, it's crazy because, people talking about the stock market. I'm hearing people saying things like Rothschilds and some of the big investors say when there's blood in the streets, that's the time to invest. Like, you know what I mean? Like, wow, dude,
Yeah, that's the God, man. That almighty dollar.
Yeah,
That
dollar, bro.
That ain't backed by nothing, And they cutting trees and shit down so they get the 5G to flow. And then how you gonna make paper dollar bills, dummy?
Right, that's right.
Oh, we gonna put you on the card and on the chip. You know what I'm saying? They at it, man. That was busy.
Devil is busy, and the people are naive, and the people and they love the devil, even though the devil don't give them nothing. But they look to him. They look to him for salvation. They look to him to say, come on with the plan to stop this. They waiting on the devil. Come on with the vaccine. They waiting on the devil. Come on and fix this. Why you didn't have things in order? And he's sitting back saying, man, I'm the devil. I don't do that. You know what I mean? That ain't even in my makeup to do.
You said it, bro. The That's what he do.
But
He said, look, man, all I did was call you.
Yeah,
You know what I'm saying?
yeah, for
You
real.
came.
You came.
answered the call.
For
I
real.
did what I'm supposed to do. What are you supposed to do? You know?
That's right, for real.
You can't blame me.
Yeah, nah. My job is to call you, damn fool. You showed up. I ain't even think you was gonna come. But since you're here, shit, let me have at your ass then.
You know what I'm talking about? But my time is up, and I'm calling. I'm just here. I'm still here though, cause you keep coming.
You keep coming, man.
Listen, Pharaoh, thank you for letting my people go, cause you had to.
Man.
Now, please, my people, let Pharaoh go.
Yeah, come on. Yeah, but it's like, what we gonna do with this new freedom, boss? I don't know nothing about freedom.
Hey, man, you know you wasn't born to be a slave. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
You was born to be. You was born to be an individual.
Right.
Freedom, justice, and equality. Sovereign. Individual. That means you got to exercise sovereignty as you stand, where you stand. Quit talking about freedom of your country when you can't even exercise freedom of yourself.
Right. Right.
That's stupid.
Yeah, it don't sound right. And that brings me back to Zbigniew Brzezinski, who stated in earlier times it was easier to control 1 million than kill 1 million, but now it's easier to kill 1 million than control 1 million. And reason being is that people are, meaning that the old way of deceiving the people is not working no more. You know, but the people can't seem to work themselves out of the bag, meaning they running out of tricks. So now, what's next? They getting desperate to the point to where, you know, it's like you said, in a sense, every man for itself. I mean, I don't know. It's like I don't have a crystal ball or whatever to project and foresee what tomorrow may bring, but I can see what's actually happening. And like you stated, it is written in the Quran, in the Bible, and we walking right through it. So for those of you who listening, allow that getting knowledge and understanding, you know.
Right. Working with your like-minded fellow faithful, man.
That's the key. That's the key.
Don't gang bang over religion. Don't get caught into that trick either. It's about your fellow faithful human being, your fellow faithful person, the people that believe in the true and living one God, man, and His righteousness and His truth, His freedom, justice, and equality.
That's right.
That go across all religions.
All right.
So you can call yourself what you want.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Just don't go down with Satan behind. This is how I like to practice, and this is what I like to wear when I practice, and that's BS.
Right.
You know?
Oh man, I'm glad you said that, man. That was a unifying statement. That's a unifier. Yeah, we can stand on that, brother Mark. Yeah, but look, man, all as always, and I know for you all that's out there listening, you know, we are currently working on the Everyday People, the movie part 2, and I'd like to thank Brother Marcus Muhd, A-Tone Production, and David Icke for the work on the first one. We getting ready to jump into the second one, and Brother Marcus has his projects, The Slice of Cake and the Blade Remix, and other things that he's working on. Got the T-shirts going on, so make sure you all support and you can find, and they can find you on your Facebook and whatnot. Can you give them your info?
Yes, sir. Facebook, A-Tone Productions. As a matter of fact, Marcus Muhd on Facebook. That is where you can find A-Tone Productions.
Right.
And then you have ATonePro.com.
And that Muhd is MUHD, y'all.
MUHD.
Yeah,
yes,
MUHD, and check him out, man. Look, man, we appreciate your time. We appreciate you being on the show.
Thank you for having me, brother.
Yes, sir. Vero Peak Radio, we out.